in areas of optimizing the system design. So these are the basic issues which we can address, so that you can have a clarity of how do we address the system, and some design part will also be shown to you, like how this is being done. And at any point of time, Obo Betterment will be there to give you a technical support in terms of knowledge sharing, or in terms of creating a design for you which makes the job more easier. Now, before getting into Lightning, we need to know what are the aspects that are directly related to Lightning and what are the aspects that are indirectly related to Lightning, and based on which this system design of a lightning protection system has to happen. So when we talk about lightning protection system, the very basic components of a lightning protection involves air termination, down conductor, and earthing. So without this, a system cannot get fulfilled. Still more measures are there. However, this is a very basic system for any kind of a building. And what are the types of lightning protection level we will be seeing? What are the types of protection measure, like whether an air termination method, with the vertical terminal, or a mesh method? All these systems will be covered in the course of session. And we will also talk about certain natural component. This is adopted in IEC, which in India also we have adopted in Toto of IEC 62305, and we are following a standard called as IS 62305. So it is global prevalence of IEC. So there is no issue with respect to the standard. Whatever I show with the Indian standard or IEC, both are the same. And then some basic test requirements which are required as per IEC we will be addressing upon, about earthing, about structural lightning protection system, and a very brief about surge protection devices as well. Now, when we talk about any protection, the purpose of the protection is to be known properly. For example, I protect my electronics against a over fluctuation or a short circuit or even a lightning. We need to understand what is the scope of protection that we need to give. So when we talk about lightning protection, there are three major aspects which is involved. Fact of the matter, the first preference should go to a human life. So protection against human life should be the first concern whenever we design lightning protection system. And remember, a life of a human being outside the structure, anywhere in the premises, which is supposed to be protected by a lightning protection, is absolutely not safe for a human being, even though he has got the best lightning protection around the building. I wish to clarify this myth to a fact. Many people do understand that, okay, I have a lightning protection system on my building, and that is going to give me a coverage area. For example, this 45 degrees is just an example. If I have a vertical terminal and it covers here, people think whoever walks on the terrace or whoever walks inside the periphery of the protected radius is protected. This is absolutely not the case. Remember, the person is not protected outside a building, even if the building has got an external lightning protection system. This is very important point we need to understand. The reason, because a lightning may not directly fall on his head directly, because there is an air terminal to take the strike. But the problem here would be, lightning can indirectly impact this person. By example, like a touch potential. He may possibly encounter a touch of a nearby metallic conductive object which can give a touch potential at the time of lightning, or he may walk through the building area where he will have an electromagnetic interference coming through the ground, and he may encounter a step potential. The third possibility is there may be a flashover. If he is not maintaining a separation or safe distance from the conductive object, there could be a flashover from the conductive object to the person who is going to walk. So, not limiting to the direct impact of lightning, the indirect impact of lightning should also be considered in a positive manner. Then, there are some special conditions which we need to consider when we do a lightning protection system. Not always a terminal, down conductor, and earthing will fulfill the purpose. For example, a typical case where there are buildings with lot of trees, maybe a foresty environment, or covered by lot of mobile telecom towers nearby, then the possibility of lightning striking the taller objects will be still more. This current may flow down to the ground, and there will be still an electromagnetic interference created from these objects. So a lightning protection system on your building will not be sufficient. You need to also consider a ring earthing around the building, as it is shown here in the presentation. Like this ring earthing will ensure if there is a lightning strike from this point, it is going to get filtered at this level, and then it may goes to the electronic equipment inside the building. So these are some measures which we need to remember before getting into the session. Now, as I have told you, if the intention is to protect a human being in that particular area, is only possible by having a kind of precautionary note or a signage board in that location in a local language, so that the person reads, understands. Or if it is an institution kind of an area, then probably a proper awareness can be given to all the maintenance people, to all the people who are accommodated in the building, saying that during the time of lightning, do not stay outdoors. So this is very important. This is the only measure by which you can protect a human life. Second point, the standard covers the scope of protecting a human life only inside a building. So the measure of protecting a building gets into implementation only when there is a proper lightning air terminal, down conductor, and earthing. So when we have the system properly in place, I utter the word properly in place, which means just a vertical terminal and down conductor for the namesake will not help. It is to be a proper design the system as recommended by 62305 of IEC. Protection of electronic equipment is an entirely separate syllabus which people sometimes refuse or neglects to understand. Many think that, okay, I have a lightning protection on top of the building and that will protect my equipments. Absolutely not. The relativity between an external lightning protection and protection of internal equipment is inversely proportional. When you don't have an external lightning protection system, remember, if the failure rate of electronic equipments is say 40%, and when you have an external lightning protection system, the failure of equipment can even increase to 60 or 70%, depending on the vulnerability of lightning. Because the lightning terminal will invite a lightning current. Instead of no lightning conductor, there may be somewhere else the strike. But if it's there, obviously, see, I don't deny the fact that lightning protection is very important. Yes, it is important. But even after having this, the failure of equipment cannot be protected by an external system is what I mean to say here. So the lightning protection system, if you have, it is mandatory to have a surge protection device inside the building, so that the lightning current impact indirectly, which is going to come through the body earthing, will be protected only by a surge protection device. Am I going fast or is that fine? You are able to follow? Yeah, someone? All right, Mr. Pama, thank you. So, basic protection as per IEC 62305. What does 62305 say when it comes to lightning protection is that to protect the lightning flash to the structure, point number one. That is the very intention of having a lightning protection system. So how do we have it? Is by having an air terminal to collect the lightning, having a safe down conductor, short down conductor to bring the current down, and then dissipate the current to a grounding, effective grounding system, which is called as an earthing. So with this, a proper lightning protection is achieved is what is 62305 of IEC says. What are the basic checklist one has to have for a lightning protection system? These are very important when it comes to design aspect. Remember, when you are trying to design a lightning protection system, this checklist and design guideline, what I am going to show now, are very important. The first and foremost point, if it is an existing building and it has got some sort of a lightning protection system in place, you need to ensure is the lightning protection system and is going or undergoing any kind of guideline from any standard, may it be an international standard or may it be your country specific standard, but it has to be as per the design guideline of the standard. Otherwise, the insufficiency of lightning protection system will be in place. Point number two, when you have sufficient numbers of air terminal to take the lightning current, you should have equal amount of down conductors also. If you are having a vertical terminal of 10 numbers, say, you cannot negotiate the down conductors to 5 numbers due to some cost aspect or to design aspect. It should be equally provided. The very intention of taking a lightning should be immediately dispersed to the ground safely. So the number of down conductors should not be compromised. Thirdly, all structures in the building should fall under the zone of protection. What do I mean by all structures in the building area? For example, take a case of an educational institution, or take a case of a factory which is lively running. There may be multiple buildings like, college block, administrative block, canteen block, playground area, and there will also, indoor stadium. I don't mean an open stadium, it's an indoor stadium. And in an industry, maybe in factory, lathe machine areas, or canteen building, security building, storage areas, and all these things. Now, what is the significance of these buildings is that it is not always in all the building everybody will be assembled. There are some buildings where people seasonally move. There are some buildings where the cost of equipment will be high. There are some buildings where just a scrap yard or something like this. So the severity of every building will vary. However, all these buildings should be under a common zone of protection or individual zone of protection as it requires depending on the design of the layout. For example, you cover an administrative building below which there is a security room. This should also be covered by the air terminal. If the security room and the administrative building are at a distance, then obviously one more protection for the security room is required. So the intention behind this is no area should be left without a protection, right? And when we are working on a design aspect, this is an important point. We get the drawing from the client and we try to make some design. In such a case, the review of lightning protection system by both plan and elevation of the structure is very important. By looking at the plan, you will be able to arrive what type of air terminal you are going to locate, where are you going to locate the air terminal. But by getting the elevation only, you will come to know where is the place that I am going to route the down conductor and how straight I am going to route. Because there may be some practical challenges at site, there may be some canopy coming, some sort of a glass structure coming. So you need to analyze both elevation and plan whenever you are doing a design of lightning protection system. Also, importantly, 62305 part 2 talks about the risk assessment of a lightning protection system to be provided. With this risk assessment, you need to ensure what are the type of electronic equipments inside and whether we have considered any surge protection device for this is important. Because one of the input in a risk assessment is that you need to also consider whether you have considered surge protection device or not. If you have not considered surge protection device, then the risk level will be showing high. If you have considered surge protection device, there will be a gradual decrease in the level of risk which is shown in the system. And if the building has got a separate storage tank or chimneys or any special kind of structures which do not fall under the scope of IEC 62305, then the relevant supporting standard should be followed. You cannot apply 62305 of IEC for designing a lightning protection system for a storage tank or a special chimney. Remember, because it doesn't fall under the building category. There are separate standards like ANSI or NFPA 780 kind of standards, which you have to refer for designing for that particular area. Resistances, the earth resistance are acceptable is one condition which the standard says. What does this earth resistance or acceptable mean? The cumulative value of all lightning protection earth pit, you do it individually or together, the resistance value should be less than 10 ohms. This is one of the conditions which the standard says. So what forms an effective lightning protection system? An effective lightning protection system is achieved based on the type of protection, whether you are giving a vertical air terminal or a horizontal air terminal or a combination of both, that is important. And then what level of protection based on which risk assessment parameter you have considered. The inputs should be given in the risk assessment format. With that input, it automatically some softwares calculate the risk assessment and tell you whether you have to go at level 1 or level 2 or level 3 or level 4 of protection. Remember, level 4 of protection is the least protection and level 1 of protection is the best protection. And then technically qualified products as per latest and relevant IEC standards are very, very important. Because when it comes to lightning protection, I have seen globally in many installations, many people use whatever component they get from the market and just use it. Standard does not encourage this kind of activity because there are separate testing procedures and testing measures which is mentioned in IEC 62561 standards, and the components has to pass these conditions. There are critical components, not every component, critical component which needs to pass the requirement criterion, then it is eligible to be used. It is not talking about any make or any particular manufacturer. but it very clearly says that the component should be tested so that the system will be foolproof during during the time of lightning. Why are we concentrating so much on this is because lightning is not alone a factor of current, it is a factor of specific energy, charge, temperature, and a current in combination. Now, sizes and dimensions of component, this is also an important design guideline. Whatever size of component you select, you cannot choose it on your own wish. Standard has given a guideline of what is the minimum dimensions required for an air terminal conductor, down conductor, and earthing aspects. So these dimensions are very, very critical to be adhered when you design a lightning protection system. Then when it comes to the design part, location of air terminal and coverage is important. Now, technically, you as engineers are designing a lightning protection system with the zone or radius of calculation and saying that these are the locations I need an air terminal to cover the building. Now, assume if an architect comes and changes the plan, saying that if you have an air terminal here, this is not looking good to my aesthetic. So you relocate it. Please don't do that, because the angle that you calculate and locate the air terminal will be precise to protect the complete part of the building. When you try to relocate the air terminal to a different area, there are potential possibility that the risk of lightning is still there to the building. So don't negotiate on that aspect of design also. Thirdly, conductor routing and connections. The conductors are to be properly routed as short as possible, and the connection clamps that you use should be adhering to the requirement of IEC 62561, as I have told you, and no local market connections jugaad should be done at this job, because it is a very critical area where it can lead to a flashover or a high risk of fire which can happen because if the components are not intact. And then sufficient and required earthings are required. Standard recommends to have as many number of earthing for as many number of down conductor. Do not try to reduce the earthing design also, because this is very critical, because as many number of air terminal you have, it should have as many number of down conductor as we have seen before. And that many number of down conductors should be directly connected to earthing points. So everything should be equal in quantity. And if you are planning to utilize the natural component like a metallic sheet or a metallic beam column inside or a reinforcement column, ensure you use it properly without any gaps, without leaving any kind of point for a flashover. It should be effectively utilized. Clear? Any questions till this? All right. So the design guideline, there are certain aspects of a design guideline. One, the down conductor should be installed at each exposed corner of the structure where this is possible. Because you have literally for a square building, you will have 4 corners, and at 4 corners, the conductors are being routed. It is well and good, because the lightning striking the sharper edged points are more due to point effect. And if you have a conductor running there from top to bottom, this will also ensure that it can take a side flash. The possibility of taking a side flash is very, very critical here. So the conductor routing at the corner is more beneficial. Then the down conductor should form a direct continuation of the air terminal conductors, which is very critical. If it does not form a direct path, then the LDI by dt will increase, and there are potential chance of flashover that can happen from the bends of the conductors. And then the formation of loops in any conductors are not permitted unless otherwise it is really required, and unless otherwise it is being properly done with a suitable recommended connection clamps. Because it is not like tapping the electricity. Many people will try to tap a down conductor in between somewhere without an authorized connectors. So this and all will lead to a serious impact, because the temperature and current and energy that we are talking about will give a bigger impact here. Then connection of down conductors to gutters or downspouts are very important. Use of multiple connection with different materials are not permitted. For example, if you are using an aluminum conductor, suddenly if you get some copper conductor and you wanted to add this to the lightning protection, you may probably think both are conductors, I'll still connect. No. The impact of bimetallic components will lead to corrosion. So whenever you are using a bimetallic component, if you are forced to use a bimetallic component, please remember the component should be used with a bimetallic connector only. Aluminum and copper should not be connected directly. GI and copper should not be connected directly. Either you use a stainless steel connector or a bimetallic connector, whatsoever may be. And then insufficient conductor dimensions. I have already discussed the dimensions of any conductor is clearly mentioned in table 5 of 62305 of IEC part 3, and only those dimensions are recommended. Going beyond the dimension is okay, but going below the dimension is not a recommended practice. Then when the distance from the down conductor to any combustible materials are there, only in that condition the size of the conductor should be 100. Table 5623005 part 3 is 50 square mm. And the standard permits you to use both flat as well as round conductor. When you use a flat, it is 25/2, that is 50 square mm is the minimum dimension. And when you use a round, it is equivalent of 50 square mm, which is 8 mm in dia. Clear? So this is the basic dimension which you need to follow. If only at combustible condition, you have to minimum maintain 100 square mm of conductor if the separation distance cannot be followed properly. Right. Some basic aspects I wish to show you. Standards of IEC. The first part of IEC 62305 will give you the scope of where it is to be applied and where not it is to be applied. Secondly, it talks about the areas like railway areas, motor vehicles, aeroplanes, and this kind of moving vehicles. You cannot design a lightning protection with respect to 62305, and this is very limited to building, as I have told you earlier. The most important part is a risk assessment. So basically, whenever we do any activity, we do a risk assessment. For example, if we buy a house or build a house, obviously the first risk parameter what we see is where is the geographical condition, whether the approvals for the land is available, and then is the constructor is a good person to do it capably. So like this, similarly, when it comes to lightning protection system, there are many factors that are predominant and important. One, the geographic condition of the location. Two, what type of building it is. 3, what is the construction material of the building. 4, what is the dimension of the building. 5, how many occupants will be there for how many hours inside a building. 6, probably what type of material it is going to be connected with. Is it a combination material or a single material? And then fire alarm system is there or not. Then surge protection devices is there or not. There are several parameters in the 62305 part 2 calculation. But with OBO Betterment, whenever you wanted to design, we will be able to help you with a risk assessment report made on a software which is done as per 62305.2, and the output can be precise. With that, you can go for a level of protection. So this is very, very important. Not randomly we can design lightning protection for the building. You need to have a proper statistical data to work on the levels of lightning protection. Part 3 talks about the design aspect, installation, maintenance aspect of all complete lightning protection system. So this is very important portion of the standard. And part 4 talks about reducing the lightning electromagnetic impulse, which we call it as LEMP. So this is purely done by a shielding method or equipotential bonding method, or simply to say it is done by surge protection devices to protect the equipments. Now, whenever we do a design, this is very important. What are the factors that we consider in the design? Right? When we talk about the design should always ensure it covers source of lightning as well. Sources of lightning is source 1, lightning flash to the structure. Source 2, lightning flash near a structure. Source 3, flash to the service that is entering into the structure. And source 4 is a flash near a service that is entering a structure. Now, whenever we are able to consider all the 4 parameters for a design, then only the design becomes a perfect lightning protected design. Because you need to consider a what if a lightning strikes on my building? What if it strikes near my building? What if the current enters through the service that is coming into my building? Service means here power line, data line, communication, and any kind of entry that is coming as a conductive material to the building. And source 4 is a lightning striking near a service. What should I do? So unless you calculate all the 4 methods, the lightning protection system cannot be foolproof. Now, this is very important for a design strategy. So you have given all inputs for doing a proper risk assessment. Now you have to determine whether you are going for a mesh method or a vertical angle method. A mesh method is practically possible in buildings which are totally plain in surface, where there are no elevations expected above the roof. So that kind of a plain building, you can go for a mesh. For buildings which are having lot of obstructions like chillers or solar panels or any kind of a modules which is there on top of the building, the mesh method will not be sufficient because the terminal vertical areas to be covered on top of the projective object. So here, when you talk about a mesh method, we discussed about 4 levels of lightning protection. For level 1, the size of the mesh should be 5 by 5 meter. For level 2, the size of the mesh should be 10 by 10 meter. For level 3, it is 15 by 15, and for level 4, it is 20 by 20 meter. Similarly, when you consider a vertical air terminal, the vertical air terminal will have differential angle areas, which are level 1, it may probably give you 70 plus, level 4, it may give you probably 80 plus kind of a degree of protection. That is also very, very important. This is how a system typically looks, a combination system. One with a mesh method, which you are seeing on the top. This is the mesh, and size of the mesh is what is defined earlier, like 5 by 5 or 10 by 10 or 15 by 15 or 20 by 20. And this is a vertical angle giving you a 70 degree or 80 degree of coverage. And with this, what are we ensuring is that the lightning is always assumed as a spherical ball which is hitting a building. So whenever this lightning comes as a spherical ball, all portions of the building should be properly protected, and that is the intention of it. No portion is left over. In our webinar, நான் வருவேன்னு சொல்ல அவர் நேர போய் பார்க்க சொல்லியிருந்தேன். நேத்து அங்கே தான் இருக்கேன்னு சொல்லியிருந்தேன். The National Building Code 2016 Volume 2 Part 8 Building Services under Section 2 of Electrical and Allied Installations is nothing but a derivative from IEC. It has categorized into different buildings into different zones. We have to do risk assessment for every building, that is important. However, if you don't get an input at all, then in India we have this NBC to guide us, like which says what are the buildings and what are the areas that should fall under level 1, level 2, level 3 and level 4. Like computer data centers, military application, high-rise hospitals, all are very critical area, nuclear power plants. This should fall under level 1 because that needs the best protection, because the risk of damage will be more. Then comes low-rise hospitals, which are not of too much height. Then it should come under level 2, and areas like schools, banks, residential complexes, which can come under level 3, and community halls where people assemble only once in a time, these can come under level 4, or even rise go down kind of area where there are no much damages expected can come under level 4. Now in India, it is very clear, as per National Building Code 2016, the lightning protection system like early streamer emission or collection volume method or dissipation array system are banned. NBC does not permit the use of these systems because these are not scientifically proven and does not have any backup from IEC standards. Right. One more design aspect what we need to consider, or in India what we follow, is that both round conductor and flat conductors are permitted for use in a building. Like flat 25 by 2 can also be used. Round conductor of 8 mm dia can also be used. But standard gives you an advantage of using a round conductor over a flat conductor. For example, if you see the table, point number 4, any building beyond 20 meter height, when you bring the down conductor, you need to give a support conductor holder for the conductor. So if it is a flat conductor, standard recommends to provide the support holder every 0.5 meter. But if it is a round conductor, standard asks you to provide the support hold for every 1 meter. So if there are 100 numbers of building or 10 numbers of building with 100 numbers of down conductors, you can see there will be a 50% of cost saving on the accessories when you go for a round conductor instead of a flat conductor. And many people conventionally think that flat conductor will have more surface area, so it is better. It is not the logic of skin effect that the current flows here. It is the logic of conductive area or the size of the conductor where the current flows, because this is not a steady state current. This is a transient current which is going to take a nanoseconds of duration or microseconds of duration and get dissipated to the ground. Some application pictures I wish to show between Mr. Satyam, you are online.
Yes, boss.
Can you loop in Jayaprakash? I am trying him. Yeah. Please loop in Jayaprakash.
Jayaprakash is
already there. Prakash, you are there?
Yeah. JP.
Now, when it comes to the design aspect of lightning protection in IEC, standard allows you to utilize the natural component as a design consideration. Remember, utilizing the air sheet itself as a air terminal for buildings are permitted only under two conditions. One, if the puncturing is permitted by the client, the sheet thickness should be minimum 0.5 mm to avoid a air terminal. If the client says puncturing is not permitted, I need 100% protection, then the sheet thickness should be 4 mm to automatically consider the sheet as an air terminal and avoid a air terminal on top of the building. Now, in India or in Nepal, both cases the sheet thickness will not be beyond 0.47 mm. So this is ruled out. So we need to have an air terminal on top of the building. That is for sure. But when you are using a down conductor, you can utilize the natural component. For example, you can see here, if it is a sheet structure with a steel beam column, you can connect the air terminal on top of the sheet, and from bottom of the sheet, you can utilize a conductor and connect the earthing. So this portion, you are totally saving the cost of down conductor, and you are effectively utilizing your beam columns to be a conductor itself. So commercially it is better, technically also it is more better, because you are giving more chance for lightning current to flow through the natural component and get dissipated fastly. Then, if you are using on a plain surface with the air terminal like this, connecting it to the beam column is still permitted, and connecting to the external metal facades are also permitted, but the connection should be done with a proper connection holder and not just by linking it and clipping it and all. The connector holders are very critical and important component, as I told, because it may lead to a flash or a risk of fire. So two methods are permitted by standard. Method number one, you can have externally routed down conductors for the building with air terminal. Method number two, with air terminal, you can have internally routed conductors, which is nothing but utilizing your reinforcement rods in a concrete structure. So if you have an air terminal at top, connect the air terminal to the reinforcement during the time of design itself. So it has to come from bottom to top. You will be creating a earth mat under the ground, and you will be raising a conductor through the reinforcement column, and at top you will connect it to the air terminal. So you will not have any externally seen conductors, but the conductors will be inside, which will give a better protection. The second important case, for cases or building design more than 60 meter and less than 60 meter. The building which are less than 60 meter, as usual, you will have a mesh method or a vertical terminal and have number of down conductors. But when the building is beyond 60 meter, standard advises additional measure of having the first 20% of the building, top 20% of the building will be continuing with the mesh what you are providing on top. This mesh will continue to top 20% of the building. And after that, every 20 meter, you will have a ring conductor surrounding the building and connected with the down conductors. And below 60 meter, everything is normal as usual with the down conductor. Why this measure is recommended in standard is because as the height of the building increases, the vulnerability of approaching the atmosphere becomes very close. And once it goes closer to the atmosphere, automatically there are chances of lightning current getting severe. And side flash to the building will also be more. To avoid this, a proper protection measure is recommended for top and bottom, including lightning conductors and side flash protection. Now, for some special cases where now a lot of buildings are coming with helipads. So for such condition, when you are having helipads, then obviously, a very important factor that you need to see is a protection to the helipad, which cannot be given by a vertical terminal or a mesh method, because the helicopters cannot land there. So you will have a mushroom conductor holder as shown in the screen, and these mushroom conductor holders are specially considered for helipad applications. And as I told you, whenever you are trying to connect both metallic component, which is already existing as a natural component, the connection should not be just leaving it or connecting with a clip. It should be properly done with the help of a expansion piece or a bridging cable, which is tested as per 62561 again. For smaller structures on top of the building, there may be buildings with lift rooms, and this lift room will be a projection. Rest of the area you will give a mesh method. For lift room also, if there are any aviation constraint of not having a vertical air terminal, you can still have this kind of a mesh terminal on top and connect it to the running external lightning protection so that the protection is fully taken care of. And there is a provision in the standard for an expansion piece. And this expansion piece is supposed to be provided every 10 meter once. And the purpose of the expansion piece in future, if the design is to be re-altered, you don't have to cut the entire lightning terminal system. Only this 10 meter portion can be disturbed and altered. So these are accessories. However, they don't form a main part. But this expansion piece is also required only for air terminal and not for the down conductor. Very important point when you design is that a lightning down conductor should not be routed near to any of the service which is entering into your building. Example, a lightning conductor which is coming, and then you should maintain a minimum separation distance. There is a formula mentioned in IEC 62305 S equal to Ki Kc by Km, which tells you what is the distance that you need to route your other services or the air terminal from the other services. Because if you route it closely, there are chances that the electromagnetic interference can still be appeared on the conductor which is entering into the building, which can cause a potential threat. Yeah, this is the sheet thickness which I mentioned. If it is a sheet which is to be directly used as a terminal, it should be minimum 4 mm thick, or if puncturing is not permitted, it is 0.5 mm thickness. So this is a small video to show you what happens if a conductor is bent and routed. And instead of routing it directly, if there are multiple bends in the conductor has got a potential possibility to crack or even break. That much of energy will be there in the lightning protection. Now coming to special installations, what we have discussed, we have come to the end of the session because in another 15 minutes time we will be opening for the question and answers. Now the special installations are something which has got a explodable elements or inflammable material where you have a floating tank. A normal lightning conductor cannot be used here. It needs a special caution because the conductor should not be bare. It should not create any spark during the time of lightning so that the material gets blasted, like a condition of a floating tank. So there you need an special explosion proof cables which are tested as per IEC 62561 part 8. So there are these are not normal insulated cable which will be available in the market. Don't search for it, you will not get it. These are special conductors with 3 insulated layers and the main conductor inside. This will ensure the electromagnetic interference does not create a harm to the inflammable object. So very importantly, the final part is the earthing. When it comes to earthing, many places there are still practice of using a GI pipe and putting salt and charcoal. This is a wrong method we have been following all these time. Whenever you use a GI pipe and a salt and charcoal, remember the salt and charcoal should not be provided along with the electrode in the same pit. The electrode should be separate and salt and charcoal should be provided on a trench around the electrode, and it is to be provided. The salt and charcoal should not be provided along with the electrode because the electrolyte of the salt and charcoal is sufficient for the electrode to activate, and if you put the salt and charcoal directly to the electrode, it will automatically eat away the electrode. So the efficiency of the earth resistance will be totally affected. So there are different methods of earthing which is practiced, and the best method, if you want to really get the better resistance, the only best method is nothing but your deep driven electrode method. If your resistance is important, then you have to drive the electrode deeply. But if your step and touch potential is important, then the design of earthing should be more of horizontal earth electrodes like plate electrode or a mesh electrode. right? Now, whenever we do a design of earthing, very importantly, the purpose of system should be understood, whether we are providing it for a plant or we are providing it for a lightning protection conductor. So that is very important. Then design life of system is important. How many years the system has to function. Based on this, the selection of material will happen. And then soil resistivity at that location is important. And then corrosive nature of the soil is important, because the corrosive nature of the soil will help you in determining material that you need to provide for earthing. And then very importantly, shape and available area, because many times when we design, we only design with AutoCAD diagram, drawing, and we will not be having a clear picture of what will be there at the site. So a practical study of site is also important, because with AutoCAD you can design 100 number of earthing, but practically there may not be that much sufficient space. So due to this, you will not be able to implement the earthing. So that is also an important factor. So when you use the earthing electrode, there are minimum dimensions and configurations recommended, which I will tell you. It has to adhere to the requirement of IEC 62561 Part 2 for earth electrode and 62561 Part 7 for earth enhancement compound. Now, the basic requirement of earth electrode is electrical resistivity test, tensile test, bend test, adhesion test, coating thickness test, humidity and salt mist test. If the electrode is passing all the tests, then the electrode is safe for using in the environment. Secondly, when it comes to compound, very importantly, the compound, any compound can be used provided if they have passed the resistivity test, sulfur determination test, toxicity characteristic leaching property test, and corrosion test. Any one of this is not properly done, or if the compound is not sufficient to take the testing, then it is unfit to be provided in the earthing system. So this is the best crux we can give on design aspect of lightning protection system. And I just opened the session for Mr. Jayaprakash to take you through some design guideline. Just a second, Prakash. Yeah, I think the drawing which Prakash has shared is visible to you. Now I'll just take you through the drawing. Prakash, can you zoom it? I think Prakash, your microphone is not working, but your audibility is fine there, no? Yeah. Still zoom it, please. Yeah, dear friends, this is a view of a building where a lightning protection system is installed. If you zoom it further, you will come to know what it is exactly. But you can see the red lined layer, what is here, is a building that we take. Yeah, and these are the red lined layer is a 5x5 mesh. Yeah, I'll come to your question, Mr. Sandesh. This 5x5 mesh, which is provided here, is a air termination system. Like this, there will be multiple blocks in the building, and the green colored components are conductor holders between every 1 meter. So a conductor holder between every 1 meter is provided. Yeah. And the blue color component is a cross connector. Remember, these cross connectors are very critical component, and that needs a critical testing requirement. Now, this cross connector will ensure the intactness between both the connectors, and this is a conductor holder for every 1 meter. And the yellow portion shown here, the yellow portion what you see here is an expansion piece, and this is provided every 10 meter once. And this expansion piece should also be a tested component. I mean, not a tested component. The links for the expansion piece should be a tested component, and it should not be done with a different material. It should be done with the same material. What are you using? So this is very important. So this is how it looks on the top. And when we zoom out, onto your left, you can see these red conductors which are ending here on the left. This will directly go to your down conductors. And a small green marks which is shown below the building here are the earthing points. So the air terminals are directly connected, taken through a down conductor, and these green marks what you see here are the earthing. So for this building, the natural component is utilized, the sheet metal is utilized, the down conductor is taken from the below portion, and it is taken to an earthing, and this is how a typical building design of a lightning protection will stay. So we have effectively utilized the natural component also, We have used external conductors to connect it to the grounding to establish a contact, and till the top we have saved the cost of down conductors and technically utilized the portions of the natural steel component which is available. Now, yeah, you can go to the legend, Prakash. Yeah, so this legend, when you give a design to Obo Betterment, we will be able to give you a proper design drawing with a legend. And there are multiple components like cross connector, conductor holder, 8 mm aluminum conductor, flat connector, and you have expansion piece and various other components which also will be shown in the legend as below. So effectively utilizing a building with proper component available in the design aspect, you can see the legends of the components here. So this is very important and critical for a proper review of the system. Now this is how a typical design of lightning protection will look like. Now your questions please. Yeah, somebody, Mr. Sandesh Podal has asked for how to use rolling spear method for unsymmetric structures. Utilizing a rolling spear method for unsymmetric structure is also similar. You have to define the dia of the radius of the rolling spear. When you try to apply this to this building, it can be a combinational method also. You need to ensure, like as I have shown you in the previous slides, the rolling spear touching on corners of the unsymmetrical building should be carefully watched, because without the radius of rolling spear, whether it is 20, 30, 45 or 60, you will not be able to design the size of the building. So in that condition, a vertical combination method or a mesh method can be provided to ensure the corners wherever the rolling spear is about to touch will be protected by the air termination system. That is how you address an unsymmetrical structure. Does lightning rod attract lightning to the building? Yes, it does. Practically speaking, lightning theory happens because of a point effect to the discharge area. Any sharper object will tend to attract a lightning. But if you have a vertical rod, it will give a small amount of initiation advance and it will attract to the building. That is why the sharper points of the buildings are very frequently getting attracted by lightning. Yes, it does. But not to a big extent. It will not do magic and all. It will basically attract, instead of hitting on a plain surface, it would rather hit on a sharp surface. That is the physics behind it. And another question to Casey, what should be the difference between earthing and underground supply line? Amazing. Basically from the structure, the standard recommends to maintain 1 meter distance from the wall to the earth pit area. And also if you have a conductive line which is going just near the building, you can still manage that 1 meter distance. But however, please remember, even if you maintain some distance from the earth pit, there are chances that the electromagnetic interference can still couple with the underground cable and enter inside. So your measure has to be surge protection device for the equipment and nothing to do with the earthing and the relativity of underground pipeline. But it is better to maintain 0.5 meter to 1 meter of distance so that the physical damage to the cable does not happen when you do an earthing pit. The minimum distance between the down conductor is mentioned in the standard. If it is a level 1 design, the minimum distance is 10 meters between the conductors, even though the mesh size is 5 by 5. The level 2, it should again be 10 meters minimum. Level 3, it is 15 meters between the conductor. And level 4, it is 20 meters between the conductor. That is very important for a down conductor. Approximate cost for LPS in Nepal. There are 3 questions. Approximate cost and then LPS for the building depends on size of the building. And in Nepal, I don't know the cost of Nepal. Probably Satyam can give an idea on this. Like an approximate cost, he can give you a guideline. See, if you are asking about the performance of lightning protection system, the earthing resistance can be measured, and even the conductor resistance can also be measured. There are test recommendation methods. By disconnecting the test link, you can do it for both the way. If that is your question, this is the answer. What about protection for PV systems? Amazing. PV system, 2 things is important. One, protecting the PV modules on a roof mounted condition with respect to a vertical air termination method, because the mesh method will not support here. The modules will obviously be higher than the mesh what you provide. Secondly, the vertical terminal that you provide should not give an hindrance to the radiation of the PV. The shadowing of the vertical air terminal should not fall on the module, so that it stops your generation also or impacts on the generation. So in that way it is to be designed. First of all, a separation distance should be maintained or directly connected to the frame. Both the options are welcome. Secondly, you need to ensure that the PV system is protected without a shading. This is important. Very critical question. Excellent.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, so there must be some SPDs also for solar for internal
Yes, sir.
protection.
It is there. Yeah, it is absolutely there. For the solar system, if you see, the system comprises of an array junction box or a string combiner or string monitoring box, and then comes the DC-DB, AC-DB, and your inverter. So at all these locations, an array junction box can also have a surge protection device. If you feel like the system does not permit to have that much cost-effective AJBs, then you need to go for a string combiner or a monitoring box where you will have electronic components. They can have SPDs inside. And finally, the inverter should have an SPD both at AC and DC end, so that the inverter is protected from the DC related surges, and also the grid can also give you a reverse surge to the system. So if it is grid connected on the AC side, also the surge protection device is recommended. You have to refer IEC 61643 part 7712.
Okay, so for internal protection, we have different types of SPD like type 1, type 2. Also in market, there is type 1+2. So is there proper coordination required, or we can use?
Absolutely, absolutely. See, when you talk about coordination of SPD, two things are important. One, the distance in what you place the SPD. This is called as oscillation phenomena. The surge protection device after 15 meter of cable length becomes ineffective at the downstream, because the every meter of cable introduces 0.1 microhenry of inductance, if you say optimistically, and you will imply this inductance will not provide you a better resistance. So there will be an LDI by dt, due to which the potential difference will be there. So you have to have SPDs at every stages is point number one. Point number two, coordination between the voltage protection level of SPD at both the end is very important. If a class B plus C SPD is offering say 2.5 kilovolts of voltage protection level, and class C SPD is offering say 900 or 700 volts, that is fine. But if the class B plus C is offering 4 kilovolts of voltage protection level, and this C is going to offer a very low voltage protection level, obviously the C will operate faster. This is what we call it as a coordination. The second method of answering to the coordination is, if you use multiple manufacturers SPD at different locations, absolutely there will be a problem, because every manufacturer will have different nominal discharge current, maximum discharge current, voltage protection level, response time. So all these will vary. So it is always recommended to have one make of SPD in all the downstream and upstream SPD areas. Did I answer you?
Yes, I have another query. Like in market, we have different SPDs, and their cost varies drastically. Like I think we have
Okay.
5,000 also and 50,000 also. So
Okay.
how to choose among them? Is there any
Yeah, this is
criteria?
this is a very big area like lightning protection. This also has a bigger phenomena to explain and analyze. Now, what you need to select is first what type of protection you need, whether you need a C or a B or a B plus C. B plus C is a non-standard item, but still followed across the globe. Now, you need to protect against lightning or switching surge, that need to be decided. Okay. Secondly, you need to decide what is the nominal discharge current and maximum discharge current for the SPD, whether it is sufficient for your place to be protected. Then you need to go on voltage protection level. Lesser the voltage protection level, higher the protection, better. And don't go for fancy SPDs generally, which says I have a filter, I have a fan, phone, and all facility in an SPD. An SPD is tend to be protected only for having a surge current criterion. Extra provisions are not required. So you can selectively take up what is the better option that you get out of the SPD and what your area you are going to protect. For example, design also matters here. If you critically review a single line diagram, not necessary always the SPD should be given at the main incoming panel, because the main incoming panel will be rugged enough to handle any amount of lightning current, because the components may not fail. Whereas inside you have a UPS DP, and that UPS will have critical components which fails because of lightning. So instead of providing SPD at the mainstream, you provide the SPD closer to the equipment to be protected. The very simple logic, applying the SPD closer to the equipment which you need to protect is critical. You have lighting DB, you have power DB, you have UPS DB. If the UPS is more critical, provide the SPD at the UPS DB instead of wasting it at lighting DB. So this can be relatively analyzed and understood. If you can give a single line diagram of SPD also, my team can support you in selecting and providing proper SPDs accordingly. I have one final question before, can you explain on surge absorption process? One question from Abhinaya Chetri. See, the surge absorption process, there is no absorption process. There is a process of dissipating the current to the ground. And these SPDs normally will be open. Only during microseconds or nanoseconds of duration in disseminating the current to the ground, it becomes a surge diverter. And that is the only time it operates and gets back to the normalcy within nanoseconds. So no SPD will store or observe the surge current. It will rather connect it from the line networks or the neutral network to the ground. So it dissipates basically. Yeah. Thank you so much. And that was a